It's been almost agreed upon that the best direction to go with Peter Parker in the MCU post No Way Home is to sort of go back to basics. Many consider the Home trilogy a pseudo-origin story accompanied by Peter playing a part in a few ensemble stories like Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, especially with No Way Home bringing back Andrew Garfield and the GOAT Tobey Maguire to face off against a multiversal Sinister Six. Andrew and Tom are pretty good, but let's be honest, we all know Tobey Maguire is the best live-action Spider-Man. If you disagree with that sentiment, that's totally fine. I mean, you're wrong, but everyone's gotta take an L at least once in their lifetime.
Hey, no, you have to see me, bro. Come on, what's up? You have to see me.
I think it's safe to say that MCU Spidey needs a more grounded trilogy or series of films. Nobody remembers Peter Parker anymore, he's living on his own, and is about to start college. No fancy Stark tech at his disposal, he can't just call up people like Happy Hogan at his beck and call. This is your chance to have a fresh start and tell some captivating street-level stories. So you all wanted that, right? Well, how about a fourth Spider-Man entry with potentially more multiverse elements and possibly the implementation of Venom and other symbiotes instead? Even if Spider-Man 4 doesn't end up being a street-level story or more grounded like we all wanted, that doesn't mean it's an automatic recipe for disaster or that it's gonna be trash. All you need is a good script and some good direction. I mean, they got Dustin Daniel Cretton, the director of Shang-Chi, to direct the movie, so there's some hope in it being a solid movie.
One of the things to bear in mind with Marvel is that your film is a small cog in a large machine, and that machine has got to keep running. And you need to make sure that you can fit into that timeline at the right time to benefit the bigger picture.
An infinite number of machines across the multiverse.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. So, that's one of the challenges we're facing, and the time in which we need to get that done is a tall order, but definitely achievable. We have a creative and a pitch and a draft, which is excellent. It needs work, but the writers are doing a great job. And I read it 3 weeks ago, and it really lit a fire in me. Zendaya and I sat down and read it together, and we at times were bouncing around the living room this is a real movie worthy of the fans' respect. But there's a few things we need to figure out before we can get that really going.
There have been so many rumors circling around the tug of war between Marvel and Sony over what Spider-Man 4 should be. Sony wants it to be more grand and have multiverse elements, while Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige want a more grounded story. While we don't actually know what the story of the movie will be, it would be to nobody's surprise if it is more grand in scope, considering the movie is set to release in between the two Avengers movies, Doomsday and Secret Wars, which has led many to speculate on the movie taking place on Battleworld, which is essentially a hodgepodge of destroyed universes throughout the multiverse, if they're adapting how Battleworld was manifested in the Secret Wars comic from 2015. Sony Pictures Japan issued a press release talking about the excitement for Spider-Man 4, giving general info on the movie's director, release date, and production. When translated, however, one of the headlines mentions if Tom Hardy's Venom / Eddie Brock is also ready to take part in the movie's events.
Do my eyes deceive me?
Spoilers for Venom: The Last Dance, I guess, if any of you even care enough. But didn't Venom burned to death in the movie's final act? I guess it wouldn't be all that surprising if they wanted to bring him back in the next entry, considering there is still a piece of the symbiote still roaming around in the MCU. I know people were confused with the Venom: The Last Dance trailer, which made it seem like they retconned a piece of the symbiote being left at the bar at the end of No Way Home. Basically, Eddie was transported to the MCU, and a piece of the symbiote did in fact get left behind in the MCU universe. But when he was transported back to his own universe, Venom left a piece of himself at his own universe's version of the same bar we saw in the No Way Home post-credit scene, which is what we see the General pick up in the first trailer. Yeah, I know, it's stupid. Boy, I know Kevin Feige must be infuriated with the fact that he has to share Spider-Man with those incompetent fools at Sony. We know that Sony has plans to utilize Knull at some point, with a few glimpses of him appearing in Venom 3, but we're not entirely sure which movie will be the next time we'll see him. Many have suggested Spider-Man 4, but it seems more likely Sony has their own plans to have Knull be the big bad in a Sinister Six movie. This probably goes without saying, but making a potential Sinister Six movie in the way Sony would likely want to is just so moronic and nonsensical. Who the hell wants to see a Sinister Six team-up movie with no Spider-Man? What would even be the reason for them teaming up in the first place? Ah yes, I can't wait to see Madam Web team up with Morbius, Vulture, Venom, and Kraven the Hunter. To this day, I still haven't seen Madam Web or Morbius, and at this rate, I probably never will, considering everything I've heard about how those two movies are nothing but a bunch of booty butt cheeks. There is no timeline across the multiverse where a solo Kraven movie should exist. I don't care if the movie ends up being not half bad, with it being the first Sonyverse movie that's R-rated. It should have never been made. What would excite me about saying an anti-hero Kraven that has a connection with animals? I know the director was talking about the movie will wash away some of the negative reception of the Sony Marvel universe. Just give us a chance.
Bro, I don't care.
Regardless of whether it's Spider-Man and Venom teaming up to fight Knull or the Sinister Six, how are any of these bozos defeating Knull? Venom and the other symbiotes in The Last Dance were struggling to beat just one or a few of the xenophages, who were essentially Knull's lapdogs. They were tracking down Venom as he had the codex or the key to free Knull from his prison and allow him to kill everyone on planet Earth. These demon dogs were out here engulfing, I'm talking straight up swallowing up symbiotes. They were tanking rocket launchers and all types of artillery fire, can self-regenerate and kill a multitude of symbiotes at once. So if they were struggling just to beat a handful of xenophages, how in the hell are they gonna beat the creator of said xenophages, who is the same guy that also created the symbiotes?
How? Hold on, bro. How?
Man, I know for a fact that Sinister Six about to have Suicide Squad kill the Justice League levels of plot armor. If it were up to me, I'm sure a lot of you would agree, the ending of No Way Home sets up the perfect opportunity to have a clean slate in adapting Peter Parker's journey with a new cast of side characters and villains for him to face off. First things first, for the love of God, do not have Spider-Man immediately switch suits in Avengers Doomsday or Spider-Man 4. The No Way Home end suit is easily one of the top live-action Spider-Man suits. The way the colors be popping off is crazy. It's all but been confirmed that Zendaya's MJ is coming back. Nothing stated about Ned Leeds, but I wouldn't be surprised if he came back into Peter's life. To be honest though, I'm not really the biggest fan of MJ coming back into Peter's life, or at least this soon after No Way Home. Sure, it may have been implied they'd reunite eventually, but having the immediate next entry in the Spider-Man series be him and MJ get back together kinda undermines the ending of No Way Home. Not to mention, this would have been the golden ticket in introducing a new cast we haven't seen yet, like maybe a Black Cat or a new cast of friends, which would made this truly feel like the college trilogy. Also, why didn't they just make Zendaya a proper Mary Jane Watson? Was there a legal restriction that prevented them from making her Mary Jane Watson from the jump, or were they just trying to be different for no reason? They do some BS in No Way Home with the whole Michelle Jones Watson thing or whatever.
Miss Jones Watson?
Jones, I don't go by Watson.
Miss Jones.
Nigga, what?
If there are to be any team-ups with other heroes in Spider-Man 4, it should really be a crossover between Spider-Man and Daredevil. The seeds have already been planted to have a story where Spider-Man and Daredevil team up to take down the Kingpin, who's running for mayor of New York City. Matt Murdock already had a cameo in No Way Home, helping Peter's legal troubles after his identity was exposed. Around that same time, you had Kingpin make his debut in the MCU after the Netflix Daredevil show was cancelled, appearing in the first season of Hawkeye. Then, the post-credits scene of the Echo spinoff show clearly set up Kingpin's idea of running for mayor of New York City, which I'm pretty sure is a show most of you watching didn't bother to watch.
Their ideal candidate, it turns out most voters want somebody who is a fighter.
And the voters want somebody who understands the pain they're going through, who understands the frustration they're going through. But wouldn't that candidate have emerged by now? Is that candidate even out there?
Daredevil Born Again will showcase Wilson Fisk's attempts in his mayoral campaign, and we know other street-level heroes are going to pop up like the Punisher. Every day I'm thankful Born Again is an actual continuation of the Netflix series and not some soft reboot of Daredevil in the MCU as the original plans had it. Apparently the original plans for the show didn't really resemble the Netflix series, and Charlie Cox didn't even show up in costume until the 4th episode. Marvel executives knew the direction they were heading in wasn't going to work, so they started from scratch, got a brand new creative team across the board, new directors, screenwriters, new script, the whole 9 yards. And now the current version has it so that the previous Netflix series is canon to the MCU timeline, with the new showrunner being someone who was an executive producer on the Netflix Punisher series. The directors of Born Again also directed episodes of Loki season 2, so them folks at Marvel Studios knew they had to lock in for this one. All of this could lead to a storyline where Kingpin becomes mayor and decides to outlaw vigilantes in New York, possibly sending villains after heroes like Spider-Man and Daredevil. We need to see some of the other street tier Spider-Man villains that haven't been seen in the MCU yet, like Mr. Negative, Tombstone, and more importantly, Scorpion. It's been 7 years since they teased Matt Gargan at the end of Homecoming, and we haven't heard a peep about him since.
What are the odds you and I'd end up at the same summer camp? This? It's on our little spider friend? And I heard a rumor. You know who he is?
But hey, who knows what they got installed for the future of Spider-Man in the MCU. Even if they are going more grand in scale with it, or want to have their cake and eat it too by implementing some street level elements as well, if you can craft a compelling story, I'll be there. I just hope Sony doesn't have the mentality that they can only break $1 billion in the box office if they have a story that's similar in scope to that of No Way Home. It doesn't matter if it's street level or not, people are going to show up regardless. If the movie's good, it's guaranteed to make over $1 billion because it's freaking Spider-Man. There's your money maker right there. I hope post Secret Wars we can head towards a Spider-Man that's one of the major pillars of the Marvel universe, maybe being the face of the street level characters. Even though I'd prefer if he had more solo adventures, I wouldn't mind a couple of interactions here and there with the Fantastic Four once they get interacted into the 616 timeline. They definitely got plans for Miles Morales since Kevin Feige teased that he wants to use the character in the MCU after Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. All I'm hoping is that Sony's meddling doesn't result in the movie being a hot mess, because God knows that's the last thing Marvel needs in trying to wrap up the Multiverse Saga. A street level story would be a cool little palate cleanser after all the multiverse shenanigans going on, but I guess we'll see what happens.